Want to welcome back Chris Dupre, who always comes to us with interesting insights around sales, sales teams, sales performance, sales management, etc. And a lot of what we've been talking about recently, Chris, you and I, has been how individual sales reps can use AI as a kind of sparring partner, someone who can, or a tool that can look over their presentation, can be a role play partner, can help them remember what's happened in their last sales call if they've got a pretty full pipeline. First off, talk a little bit just about that, about AI as a tool for sales teams in general, and then we'll get to the topic of the day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, why wouldn't you have an army of 10,000 able-bodied, ready to go folks helping you close more revenue, right? So that's the starting point. But there's just so many things that sales professionals, whether you have a ton of sales calls every day, whether you're an inside sales rep, an outside sales rep, or you're like a seller doer, everybody has to prepare. And whether that's doing research, whether that's looking at transcripts, whether it's role playing, these are all things that can be enhanced using some of the simple tools just like ChatGPT. Um, and you know, we have this moment where there's actually tools to help us. So instead of trying to read a transcript or rewatch a call, can you use these tools to help spark some insights? And I think we'll get into some of this today, but there's been some advancements in some of the tools that are out there right now that I'm going to tell you just make being a sales leader or even a salesperson easy. And then there's things like just taking a transcript and putting it into ChatGPT to actually get you primed and ready to go for the conversations you're going to have that day.
Right. Because we know that sales reps' time is precious and they want to spend as much time as they can either prepping or on actual calls. And if they can shrink down the time they have to spend prepping, um, not that you can skip that, not that you can skip the important work of preparing for calls, but if you can make it more efficient, everybody wins. And honestly, the customers win as well because you're going to have a better call. You're going to have a more productive interaction with whoever you're speaking to. So I think that's great for sort of setting the table for this conversation. But I want to zoom out, and this is something that I'm really interested in. I know you have a lot of thoughts about to talk today about sales managers. So talking about using AI one step up from the front lines of sales. So if you're a sales manager, you've got a different set of challenges. So first off, before we get into any specifics, talk broadly about why they should see AI as the helper that they're looking for.
So so it's interesting. I think we actually have to start before that. So before we start with why AI is their helper, I think that a lot of sales managers need to understand that there's certain things that they may not be doing today that they need to be doing or some version of, right? And anybody that's ever listened to me talk for more than 5 minutes knows I'm talking about sales call recordings, right? They've got to be watching them somehow because as leaders of anything, but specifically sales leaders, unless we can see what our reps are doing, we're going to struggle coaching and training them. And as much as I'd love to say that this doesn't happen, it still does, where people say, whether it's I can't get people to record calls, or they say, I don't want to micromanage them, or they say, well, we go in person and so I do ride alongs. Like there's all the excuses. At the end of the day, there's a fundamental that everybody needs to understand. If you don't, at a minimum, hear how your reps are talking to your buyers, you don't have any clue how they're doing outside of their results. So somebody could be winning a ton, but they could be offering huge discounts and you're losing profit, but the one metric you have shows them winning a lot. Others, they could be losing, but you don't know why. And so you make a move on somebody when if you had watched a few calls, you might notice there's one or two things if they changed, they'd become your best rep. So we have to have this foundation that It's not just about the numbers, it's not just about pushing people, it's about actually developing and growing our sales folks, right? So, now let's insert why is AI such a big helper? Because it's going to alleviate a lot of the stuff that gets in our way. Meaning, it's unrealistic if you have 5 to 10 reps to listen to all of their calls. It's just not possible, right? If you have more than that, it's even harder. So, can you, while still always listening to a few here and there, can you use AI tools, whether it's taking a call transcript, getting AI to summarize it, and you can ask it some questions, or where this already exists, Gong has just leveled up their tool to where it's got an ask me anything button, and you can go in as a sales leader and say, did we talk about price on this call? And it's going to look through and get that answer for you very quickly. What objections did we handle? What is the buyer trying to solve? Did my rep talk about X? And here's the thing, this is not a pitch for Gong. We're in a trial phase of it right now, and didn't have time to give feedback to one of my teammates, but I had time in between calls to ask it. There were like 5 questions I wanted to know if this teammate of ours asked these things. With this AI tool, I was able to knock out in 30 seconds. I knew that the call was generally good, that they had asked the right questions and set up the next steps to move this closer to a win for us. And so I was able to give almost real-time feedback to somebody without having to spend the 20 minutes watching the call and thinking through it. I was able to just go ask it a few things, bloop, and I was able to coach him on something because one of the responses didn't have it the exact way that I was hoping. That's one instance. But these things are there for us now. So imagine you've got all these sales reps and our close rates not where we want it to be. So we train a GPT model. So right, so a new conversation in ChatGPT 4 or 3.5, we feed it transcripts. Now, because it's on the big network, we scrape out company names, right? Like we go through and make sure that we're not giving sensitive data, but you pump in those transcripts and tell it to review these transcripts. And then guess what? Once it's got them all in there, you can start asking it questions to see trends amongst the 10 different calls. You can say, hey, what were the main objections that came up? Hey, what were the main questions that buyers had in these interactions? How did my reps overall answer it? And you can get this real time feedback without you having to sit and watch 10 calls to get to the same end state. Now, this is really exciting for me as a sales coach and as a sales leader, but for CEOs, for owners, for other sales managers, gang, this allows us to actually know what's working and what's not in our sales process. It also has this secondary effect of when you have tools, whether it's a tool like Gong or you take and build a ChatGPT conversation with all this stuff in it, that data is also invaluable to your marketing team and invaluable to your services team because they now know what the heck is happening in these conversations. They can ask it questions and you just start this shared understanding of what is actually going on so that we can take the right actions. If we're the sales leader, what do I need to role play this week? What skills do we need to work on? If I'm the CEO, what are my buyers even talking about? How is my sales team, how are they representing us? If you're a marketer, what's the stuff that's still getting in people's way that we need to address before they even show up? If I'm on the service side, what are people worried about when they do start working with us? It's unbelievable what we get, but it all starts with number 1 action. record sales call. Step 2, do something with AI to review transcripts, to ask it questions, to learn. Step 3, take the things that you've learned and apply them in training and apply them to make the organization better.
Yeah, there's so much I want to unpack there, and a great there's just a lot there, and I love what you're going where you're going with this. And as I was thinking going into this conversation, I was thinking about AI as a tool for evaluation and training on the individual level, which I think it definitely is. But it's something that you say a lot, Chris, is the idea that sales is a team sport, that we need to think of it as something that the whole company, the whole sales team is working towards. And in a way, everyone in the company is in sales, everyone in the company is in marketing because we have networks, we have word of mouth networks that expand the reach of our company. But you could look at transcripts from 10 different reps and see, those common objections. So when you're talking about what do we role play this week, it might not be just for working with rep A who's struggling with openings or open-ended questions. It could be collectively, guys, we're all struggling with this. Let's all, because I'm seeing it all over the place. And so all of a sudden you can comprehend insights from a huge pile of data that would be just sort of impossible before you had this kind of technology.
Right. And here's the thing, role playing one-on-one is fine. I want to put all the problems that the whole team's having out, role play those with everybody, because if you heard it in rep A's call, rep C did the same thing 2 days before, 2 days after, like it doesn't matter, right? So these tools are just invaluable to help us prepare and to even know what we should be talking to people about.
Yeah. These tools can also feel overwhelming. So I want you to leave us with what are some baby steps that sales leaders can take to make a dent in their big workload and make incremental improvements in their team using AI technology that's available right now out the door.
Yeah. So step 1 is go to ChatGPT, tell it what you do, and ask it how you can help. That was mind blowing for me. Now, it's going to give you a laundry list of 20 things. You might use 3 of them, right? It's cool. Just go do that. The next thing is make the decision that you want to make your team better, right? Like, because you have to do that if you're going to do the rest. Okay. So now we've checked that box. Now it's AI is only as good as what we use it for and what we teach it and feed it and do all this stuff. So let's say that you're just at the beginning of recording calls. Great. So record them. You might not be using a gong or one of these tools that has AI built in. That's fine. Let's say you're using otter.ai. I believe it transcribes the calls. Pull those transcriptions. And again, because we don't want to put ABC Corp's data to the world, put it in a Google Doc. Go to the replace function, or I think it's like on a Mac, it's Command F. Type in the company name and put blank, or make up a fictional company, have it replace all of them in there. Then you copy that transcript and put it into ChatGPT. Now, you may have to chunk it into a couple different paste ins, and that's okay, right? So it can only handle so many words at a time. And I forget how much it is, but I've had success with uploading a 30-minute call transcript. All right. More than that, you definitely have to chunk it, but it's going to tell you if it's too much. And then you just copy and paste sections, right? And then start asking it questions about what it saw in that call. Now, if you're going to do this at scale, so you got to figure that out first, right? How do I take a call transcript, get it into AI, and ask it questions and see what's possible? Once you figure that out, then it becomes, how do I grab a bunch of calls from all my reps, put it in, and then start asking it questions? But the idea here to actually get moving is, 1, start recording sales calls. 2, start playing with ChatGPT. 3, start figuring out what is possible for you and your team, all in the spirit of how do we train, how do we role play, how do we coach people better with real stuff rather than the current way, which might be like, "So John, why did you lose that deal?" And John's gonna give me some answer, and I either have to just believe him, I can ask him some more questions, but I don't know. Well, let's say that he did 3 sales calls for that one deal. I can go load that whole series of calls in, and I can start asking things like, "Did we get to a compelling reason that they would want to change? Did we address blah, blah?" Insert all the things that you would wanna know. And you might find that in that scenario, John didn't do some of our sales process or didn't get them to connect in certain ways. I can check that now in 5 minutes and go and say, "Hey, John, I noticed on ABC deal, we lost it, but we never really got to a compelling reason for them to take action. Let's go talk about that first call and some questions that I think you missed. Or how could we have asked these questions differently?" Right? But I'm not gonna know that until I can get in there.
Which is a great reminder of another thing that you've said to me before, which is be the human in the loop. And the way that you approach the people you manage with this information matters. And you do it in a human way, in a coaching way, in a we can get better together way, not in a the robots told me you're going to lose your job by the end of the week
Right.
way.
Right. Right. But again, all of this stuff allows us to see what's actually happening so we can have real conversations with humans. And by the way, when we have those real conversations and we know what's actually happening, we're going to win more because we're more in the actual problems than living in what most sales managers deal with, which is inflated pipeline and excuses from sales reps.
Just for anyone listening, a reminder: Chris Dupre is a sales coach and sales expert here at Impact, and he works with businesses like yours every day to help you communicate better with your buyers, serve your buyers better, put your buyers at the center of your sales process and all of your messaging. So important work, no matter the tools, no matter the platforms. But Chris, appreciate your time as always, and great insights for anyone out there who wants what I think every sales rep wants and every sales leader wants, which is better outcomes, happier customers, and more satisfied sales reps. So thank you as always.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.